I keep sinning and I cannot stop. Listen to this hadith very carefully. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he says, in this authentic hadith, there is not a single believing slave of Allah except that he commits a sin. The believer's relationship with a sin is now of two types. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam says, one situation is that he commits this sin and he commits it rarely. So he's not persistent and consistent upon it. He is very rare to commit this sin. The second situation, and Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam says, a believer could have a relationship with a sin in where he commits very regularly and he's persistent and consistent upon it. And he does not separate and stop himself from this sin until he himself is separated from this worldly life. In other words, until he dies. Or perhaps like the sister who walks out of her house regularly every day without adhering to the proper Islamic dress code. Or it could be that person who just cannot control his tongue. Or it could be the person that smokes not one cigarette a day, packets and packets a day. Now Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam in the beginning part of this hadith explained the problem. This is the problem. A person that commits a sin and cannot stop. What's the solution? Listen to the second half of the hadith. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he says that the believer has been created to be tested. خُلِقَ مُفَتَّنًا. But a quality of the believer also, tawwaban, he's a repenter. So just as he frequently makes a sin, he's also frequent and updated in his tawbah. One of his qualities is nasiyya, that he forgets. إِذَا ذُكِّرَ ذَكَرَ. Whenever he is reminded, he quickly remembers. Whenever he's reminded of the punishment of Allah Azza wa Jal, ذَكَرَ. He quickly acts upon this reminder and he performs the tawbah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The solution is, this is the cycle you're supposed to follow, which is, you commit this sin, you make a tawbah immediately after the sin. Nasiyya, you'll forget. That's the nature of Bani Adam. You'll fall into the sin and you make a tawbah again. And if a person is upon this cycle, then bi'idhnillah, such people are upon goodness. Such people are upon goodness. You're not a hypocrite. You're not an evil person. Don't allow the shaitan to take advantage of you and take advantage of your situation. The problem is, if you continuously perform the sin and don't follow it up with dhikrullah, you don't follow it up with tawbah to Allah, understand, we're in a battle with the shaitan. You cannot let the shaitan to defeat you in this battle. It's either you or him. If you give up on the mercy of Allah, meaning he defeated you in this battle. And if you continuously, you updated and you refreshed your tawbah, then you have defeated the shaitan bi'idhnillah.
And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says that if a person was to say, Astaghfirullah al-azim alladhi la ilaha illa huwa al-hayyu al-qayyum wa atubu ilayh. He says it 3 times. غُفِرَ لَهُ وَإِن كَانَ قَدْ فَرَّ مِنَ الزَّحْفِ. That Allah Azza wa Jal would forgive him even if he turned his face and he turned away from the battlefield. Do you know when you turn away from the battlefield, this is a major sin. In other words, this one dhikr said 3 times is enough to clear you even from the major sins that one has. This is the solution, dhikrullahi subhanahu wa ta'ala. A person might complain and say, Wallahi, I know that the road ahead is very long. I still have to face death. And after this, I'm going to live a life in the grave. And after it, as-sirat wal-mizan. And then the paradise or the hellfire. And then al-hisab. And I need something that will take care of all my future concerns and worries. Dhikrullahi subhanahu wa ta'ala is the answer to such a person. The solution is الذاكرين الله كثيرا, the abundant remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is why Dhikrullahi subhanahu wa ta'ala needs to always be on the tongue of a person.